Let's give it a shot.
Suck my fat in.
I know, that's what me too. I'm gonna get mine down below.
You can't see us. I'm a little heavier than I was 10 years ago.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Yeah. Well, hey, Rock Point family, wanted to come and talk to you for a few minutes. Adam and I together. Wanted to let you know a little bit about what was going on and what God's been doing in Adam's life and what God's about to do in Adam's life. And so let me just be the one to tell you that on July 15th, Adam and his family will spend their last service with us here at Rock Point Church, and they'll be making a move to Nashville, Tennessee to begin a brand new ministry. Now, there's a whole video after this one that describes all about that, so I want you to stay around and watch that. That's super important. But what was really important to both Adam and I is that you guys see two pastors who love each other and have for a long time. And I was thinking about the first day we ever really even saw each other. We were in Nederland, Texas, if you happen to know where that is, in East Texas. And I just happened to be preaching at a church. Adam just happened to be singing at that church. And we met back in the pastor's office for a couple minutes. That was interesting. You had a suit and tie on. Yeah. And but what I remember about that was I remember you walking out on the stage. I'm sitting on the front row with the pastor. And you walked out and you loosened your tie down. That was like the first thing you did. You loosened your tie down. And then you turned around and you looked at the drummer and you counted him off. And you opened your mouth and started singing, and inside me, God said, "That's your guy." And I thought, how weird is that, to be sitting here in another church in another town, and you were there looking at a job, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you guys were, what, you'd just been married?
Not even a year.
Months. Yeah, a few months, I think. And what were you, 20 maybe?
Yeah, I looked like I was 12 though.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's not a terrible thing, and that's been true for a long time. But yeah, so from then on, I mean, God just orchestrated that whole thing. You and I really had very little to do with that, and all of a sudden, you know, about 9 months later, you show up in Austin, and then what? A little over a year later, came on staff here at the church.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's been a 9-year ride here at our church, and it's been a great ride. And so back in January, you started, coming and saying, "Hey, I think God's doing something in my life." Tell us just a little bit about that and what God's been doing in your life.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few people in our church who, we just have random conversations about their kids. There's students who, didn't want anything to do with church, or, didn't, all of a sudden, they'd raised them at church and they said, "Hey, I don't believe in God anymore," and for some reason those just stuck with me. Like, I couldn't shake them, and I think God's always given me a pastor's heart and a missionary's heart and stuff. And so I just always thought that would be here, and so those conversations and stuff, and then just beginning to see, like, wow, there's a whole generation of students who didn't grow up in church and don't know who God is, and they're not showing up to where church is, And so I think God just started to build this almost missionary mentality in me to go, "Hey, Adam, go reach them wherever they're at. If they're at a college dorm or if they're at a coffee shop or whatever, what if we took church? What if we took, who we are and how we love people and who God is and that community, and just transplanted it into those spaces in life where college kids are, because they're not coming to us. They're not showing up on a Sunday morning or coming to one of our events and stuff like that." And so God began to build that really around a few conversations with a few people in our church who's struggling to parent their adult kids, and not understanding their journey and their faith and that struggle, which I don't think is a new struggle. I think, all of us, when we went off to college or the journey to become an adult, struggle with our faith. But I think we're seeing in our younger generations that they're really confused with Christianity and politics and science and religion and faith and how all that mixes. And so for me, I felt like God said, "Hey, they're broken just like you were. Go tell them about me." So that's what God's been building in me.
Yeah. So as we were talking about a minute ago, back in January, Adam and I started having this conversation about what would God do? How could God be doing this? Because the truth is, you and I kind of both believe this was long term for us.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Right.
we're not, nobody's turning their nose up at 9 years.
Right.
That's a long time in today's world. But the other fact is that I think both of us had in our mind maybe way long term, and yet it's so cool when God intersects and says, there's something here for you, there's something I want you to do. And, you know, you and I have talked a lot about how I just get that, right? I totally get that. In fact, for those of you who watch in this video right now, you wouldn't be attending Rock Point Church had the very same thing that Adam just said not happened in my life too when I was 18 years old. And at some point, I pulled up and had a conversation like this with the church I was working at, and I made a drastic move in my life because God was calling me to that, and that drastic move translated into Rock Point Church today. And so I get this. I mean, I totally do. Now, I'll be totally honest with you, as I've been honest with you, is that I've had a couple of Sundays where I was really mad at Adam over this. I've had a couple of Sundays where I'm just incredibly sad about this. But when acceptance of it kind of settled in and I was like, wow, this is what happened to me too. There's something really great about the calling of God on your life that you can't run from.
Yeah.
You've got to go do it.
Yeah.
And so I get that. I love that. I want more of that in my life too. And so I think we all do. We want to hear from God. But man, when you hear from God, all of a sudden it gets real and it gets scary, and now you got to go do something about it. And that's where you are. Yeah. You got to go do something about it. And so I want you to hear me say, as our partners, that I couldn't be more behind Adam and what he's about to go do. Even with some of those feelings of like, I wish this could be longer term, that's about friendship. I wish we could go the distance in that. That's about liking ministry and doing ministry well together. But when I step back and I look at the big picture of God's doing something in Adam's life, and we want to be partners in that, we want to walk beside him in doing that, all I can do is be excited about God doing something with that. And so I'm asking you as partners in this church to let's be excited about God's call on someone's life, rather than just thinking about, like I did for those few weeks, about me and about us. Let's think about the bigger picture of what God's doing. And so, Adam, I mean, I've told you a bazillion times, this is a recorded conversation for you and I, but you've heard me say over and over, I'm behind you. You know, I'm behind you 100%. I believe in you. I know you can do this. And I think it's going to be an amazing thing. I think God's going to use you. And we're just honored to get to be a part of that in any way. And so for all of you, you know, we wanted you to know about that. You know, maybe one last thing from you, Adam, might be good, is just you were telling me just before we started recording about kind of the investment that you feel like that the people here have made in you, starting as that 12-year-old looking kid to today. Tell these guys about that, because I think that's important.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like at 31 years old, I don't really know how life could get better. Because for the last 9 years, I've gotten up and come to this place, Rock Point, our family, and was able to do what I love to do with people I love to do it with. And that all started from a church giving me a chance. And it was just a job at first, and it was just me playing my guitar and doing what I wanted to do. But somewhere along the way, my family and I just fell in love with who we are, our family, and what we get to do. And to have been able to be a part of that, I feel like most people don't get in their life. And, you know, there was just this, looking back, it's crazy. I never saw this coming. I didn't realize the last 9 years were preparing me for what God has prepared for me now. But looking back, I can see that there's this maturation process. And so the people, the partners who gave at our church, who put up with young, dumb, arrogant Adam, you know, and you know, I feel like that God allowed me to find my voice here, both physically and spiritually. And, you know, I realized somewhere along the way I needed healing from life's hurts. And so I went through recovery and counseling and talked through so many people who are watching this video right now about the pain that I was carrying. And so, yeah, I feel like there's no way I could go do what I'm about to go do if it wasn't for the people watching this video in the last 9 years of my life, just people investing in me. You know, that's something I'll never take for granted.
Yeah, I think that is a credit to all the people who this is your family. And what I want us to do is I want us to never quit investing in young people who become Adam Stones. I just think that's the greatest thing we could do, is invest in generations that go out and change generations. And that's what we've done. That's what we've had an opportunity to do. And I think we may be in the middle of more of those and just not really realize it. But the fact is that we are investing in the next generation. And our part in your life is just a small part in that, in the grand scheme of things, but it's our honor to actually get to be a part of that. And so, Rock Point, we want you to know that together, we're in this together. We're in support of each other. We've butted heads for 9 years, and can sit here today and tell you we absolutely love each other and work well together. And you know, who knows what God does? Maybe one day we get to work together some more, and we would both jump at that chance. It's just an opportunity today for Adam to go do what God's calling him to do. So just to make sure that it's real clear, on July the 15th, that will be Adam and Jessica's last Sunday with us officially on staff. And then they'll be making this move to Nashville to start this ministry, to start church for whatever that looks like for the next generation. And I just want us to be incredibly supportive of that. And God has great plans for us here at Rock Point. We've talked about that. We know that. We believe that. And God's doing something. Anytime he does something in a person like Adam's life, he's also doing something in all of our life. And so we're going to be seeing more worship leaders around, and we're actually kind of excited about that, about some new worship leaders, and again, investing in a new generation. It's what we've got to continue to do. And so, we think Adam's going to do an amazing job, and I'm just proud of you, man. I'm proud of you for listening to God's voice, and you're going to do awesome. You're going to do amazing, and our church is behind you 1,000%. So thanks for taking the time. I know this gets a little long, and then Adam's got one that maybe is not quite this long after this. That gives a little more details of what he's going to do. I hope you'll stick around and watch that or catch that at some point in the near future. That's going to be really important as well. So thanks for watching. Adam, thanks, man. Love you.
Love you guys
a lot. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.